Yo, Broncos country, you guys aren't going to believe what just went down behind the scenes of our beloved orange and blue franchise. While everyone was celebrating the blockbuster renewals that happened this summer, there's one guy who might have his days numbered in Denver. And no, it's not who you're thinking. I'm talking about John Franklin Myers, that warrior who does the dirty work on our defensive line. Get ready, because this situation could completely change the future of our defense, and I'm going to break down every single detail so you understand just how big this bomb is that might be about to explode right in our faces. The situation is more serious than it looks, family. You guys remember that priority list Sean Payton made crystal clear at the beginning of training camp? 3 names were marked in red on the front office agenda: Courtland Sutton, Zach Allen, and Nick Bonitto. Guess what? All 3 have already signed mega extensions that made our salary cap heavier than a linebacker trying to run the 40. Sutton secured his $92 million back in July, making Broncos country breathe easy, knowing our main offensive. Target would keep wearing orange and blue for a few more years. Right after that, Zach Allen closed a $102 million deal, showing that our defensive line would keep having that intimidating presence in the opposing quarterback's pocket. And, to top it all off, last Thursday, Nick Bonitto signed a $106 million extension that could reach $120 million with incentives. So our pass rusher is locked up and ready to terrorize conference quarterbacks for years to come. But here's where things get complicated, folks. John Franklin Myers, that guy who does the work nobody sees, who plugs holes, who allows others to shine, got left out of this renewal party, and according to sources close to the player, he's not even expecting an extension offer anytime soon. The guy's already got his eyes on the 2026 free agency. Just imagine the situation. The defensive line coach himself, Jamar Cain, said Franklin Myers is a key figure for our defensive front's success. He praised the guy's dedication to improving against the run, his humility in accepting criticism, and his commitment to being coached hard. Cain even called Franklin Myers a selfless person, always elevating his teammates' level. And check out this cruel irony. Franklin Myers is the cheapest guy on our defensive line, making only $7.5 million per year, but he's exactly the one who holds everything together. He's that type of player who doesn't make headlines, but without him, the whole thing crumbles like a house of cards. George Payton, our general manager, when questioned about the situation, gave that typical political answer, said he'd like to have everyone back, that Franklin Myers isn't different from the others, but that it's a complex puzzle, just like managing the 53-man roster. Translation? There's no money for everyone. Family. And here's where the NFL's cruel math comes into play. Broncos country. If Franklin Myers were to get renewed today, he'd have to receive at least $15 million per year. Why that amount? Simple. DJ Jones, our nose tackle, renewed for an average of $13 million annually in March. Franklin Myers, who's more versatile and impactful, would obviously be worth more. But check out the financial landscape our Broncos are facing. With 3 giant extensions already signed, and knowing Bo Nix is going to need a fat renewal after 2026, the salary cap space is getting tighter than a third-and-long blitz. The situation gets even more complicated when we analyze future numbers. In 2028, just Allen and Sutton are going to consume more than $65 million of our salary ceiling. That's not counting Bonitto and Bo Nix's future extension. There's little room left for more heavy contracts, and Franklin Myers might be the victim of this math that doesn't add up. Currently, assuming Bonitto's contract is structured similarly to Allen's, the Broncos have approximately $30 million in salary cap space for next season. In the last free agency period, they entered with $40 million available. The maneuvering room is shrinking fast. Of course, there are always ways to manipulate the salary cap. The organization could restructure Quinn Meinerz' contract, our all-pro guard, and free up more than $10 million in 2026, or cut Mike McGlinchey before June and save more than $8 million. But that messes with other important pieces of our puzzle, and here's another problem. Franklin Myers isn't the only important player with an expiring contract. Luke Wattenberg had a solid season protecting the pocket as our starting center. Alex Singleton continues being a fundamental piece in our linebacker core. Jaquan McMillian established himself as our reliable nickel corner, even Malcolm Roach. Our defensive line backup could deserve a cheap renewal. If you're Broncos country for real, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any part of this saga that could redefine our defense. The reality is, the market shows no mercy, family. Franklin Myers is one of those players who makes a difference silently. He's not going to show up leading sack stats or tackles for loss, but he's the one who allows Benito and Allen to shine on the edges. He's the one who occupies two blockers to free up our linebackers. He's the one who stops, runs up the middle when the game's being decided. You guys remember that phrase Malcolm Roach said in August? Keep playing, keep showing up, and the money will work itself out. Nice philosophy, but the reality of NFL front offices is quite different. Money doesn't work itself out, especially when you have a strict salary cap limiting your options. The situation becomes even more delicate when we analyze the timing. Franklin Myers is in the best phase of his career, showing versatility to play different positions on the line, improving against the run, and maintaining his pass rush effectiveness. He's exactly the type of player every defense needs, reliable, smart, and willing to do the dirty work. But here's the thing, Broncos country. The NFL is a cruel business where a player's real value doesn't always reflect in his salary. Sometimes, flashy players who make spectacular plays earn way more than those who make the fundamentals work. And Franklin Myers might be the victim of exactly this twisted logic. What bothers me most about this whole situation is thinking about the impact Franklin Myers' departure would have on our defensive chemistry. This guy knows Vance Joseph's system like the back of his hand. He knows exactly where to be in every situation, how to communicate with teammates, and how to adjust his play based on what he's seeing from the opposing offense. Losing this experience and institutional knowledge would be a major blow, especially considering our defense is finally working like a well-oiled machine. Sometimes it's better to keep what's working than to bet on drastic changes for purely financial reasons. Just imagine the irony if Franklin Myers ends up signing with a division rival next year. Seeing this guy causing problems for our offense twice per season would break the heart of any fan who truly understands football. The thing is, decisions like this define the future of entire franchises. Do you bet on continuity of a group that's working well, even if it means tightening the budget even more? Or do you let important pieces walk to maintain financial flexibility for the future? Tell me, Broncos country, what would you do if you were in George Paton's shoes? Would you find a way to fit Franklin Myers in the budget, or bet that you could find a cheaper replacement who does the same job? The truth is, players like Franklin Myers are rarer than they seem. Finding someone with the same combination of talent, experience, versatility, and system knowledge isn't an task. And when you find them, you usually pay more than you would to keep who you already have. On the other hand, the NFL's financial reality is unforgiving. You can't just ignore the salary cap and hope everything works out. Tough decisions have to be made, and sometimes important players end up being sacrificed in the name of long-term financial sustainability. What worries me most is knowing Franklin Myers is already mentally preparing for free agency. That means he probably won't accept a below-market offer just to stay in Denver. And considering the value he adds to our defense, any fair offer would have to be in the $15 million annual range at minimum. Is our front office willing to do more financial juggling to keep Franklin Myers? Or have they already decided it's time to move on and bet on cheaper options? These are the questions that will define our defense's direction in the coming years. One thing's for sure. Whatever decision is made, it's going to have deep repercussions on our defensive performance. Franklin Myers might not be a star in the stats, but he's one of those players who makes all the difference when games get tough and every possession counts. The season barely started, and we're already dealing with these complex questions about the team's future. That's how the modern NFL works. You have to think simultaneously about the present and future, balancing on-field performance with financial reality. So what's up, Denver Broncos family? Do you think Franklin Myers deserves to be a priority in renewals? Or would you rather the organization maintain financial flexibility for other needs? Comment below what you'd do in this situation. Hit that like if you want Franklin Myers to keep being our silent warrior, and share with your Broncos country friends so everyone stays up to date on this saga that could change our defense's direction. Until the next video, and may the Broncos keep flying high, and as always, go Broncos.